Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of The Shooting Show, and welcome to today's program, friends. We are indeed very, very proud to be here because, you know, without your help, we couldn't be. And I think that goes a long way towards showing the strength of our program and what we're about. You know, you're not tuning in to see Johnny talk about what a nice guy he is. You're tuning in to get information on where we as gun owners stand here in America and about firearms developments, whatever it may be. And I tell you what, friends, we're in the most serious shape that we have ever been in as a free people or as a country. Right now, the Clinton administration is working with the United Nations directive, and I tell you what, friends, it's unbelievable that we still belong to the United Nations. You know, they had to put it over here because they knew that the Americans would not take seriously some organization in Europe or in Asia somewhere else. And you see, the United States of America is the last thing in the way of the globalist, of the people who would rule our very lives. Right now we're hearing about technology coming, being forced by the government, going to have electronic safety devices, going to have a little wrist bracelet that you wear, or a ring that has a little chip in it with a battery that will tell your gun it's okay to fire. Well, you know what? If that's so good for us, they're saying, well, only the owner of the gun can use it. Well, what about someone in their home if, let's say, the man was being overcome and the wife needed to reach the gun, and, you know, home invasion, which unfortunately too many of us will suffer. Home invasion is just as much the battlefield as on the beach in Normandy, just as much a battlefield is in some mountainous area between armies, because that's the battle for your lives and for your home. You know, you wouldn't even think about doing something like that on a military weapon. Said, hey, if somebody gets hurt, pass the gun to somebody else. That's as simple as logic can be. Yet, some of the people who don't know much about guns, who don't understand our Constitution, who don't understand who we as Americans are, you know, they don't see a problem with that. And let me tell you what, if in fact the Clinton regime, the liberal socialists who want to disarm us, the communists, if in fact they are successful in putting electronic mechanisms on our guns that will only fire under permission of someone wearing a ring or a bracelet or something, I promise you this, there will be a master code that the nice people from the police that represent the United Nations will be able to turn off, and they'll turn off your gun. You know, I wish I could be wrong about this. 10 years ago, we started telling the industry, 10 years ago when we started telling people, we've got to reach people on TV, we're going to lose our gun rights. The industry people, so many others said, no, it can't be. We got a Second Amendment. No, don't bother us with this. Let me tell you what, friends, this TV is the only shot we as free Americans have left, we as gun owners, because what we have to do, we've got to reach numbers. Now, some of the mentally retarded liberal socialists are beyond reach. They cannot be reached. You can't reason with them. They don't want to hear reason. They say, well, don't let the facts get in our way. Don't let the facts confuse us. Because I tried to talk to a couple this week. I tried. You can't because they won't listen to reason. We're here as free Americans because we had access to privately owned firearms. That's how America is here today. If it weren't, if we didn't have this access a couple of 100+ years ago, we'd be answering to a British Parliament or who knows what else. That's how we became free, is because we as Americans had the free access to personal ownership of firearms. That's how we're here. If you'd like to help us, the only chance we have is to establish a gun-friendly, Judeo-Christian ethic-friendly, family-friendly television network. We've got the equipment to do it. We appreciate our friends in Alabama that are helping do this, but we need your help. We're here today because of your contributions. If you could help us stay on the air, friends, it's down to it. It's down to the fight. This is it. Right now, what happens in the year 2000, 2001, 2002, especially right now, you need to call your congressman and say, hey, why can't you stop Bill Clinton? Why can't you stop Bill Clinton from infringing on my rights as a gun owner, my rights as a free American? We've got to call them now. We've got to call our congressmen. We've got to call our senators. We've got to stand up for who we are. We have some great tape footage of another demonstration of some good people in Colorado, some gun owners who are not taking it lying down, who are demonstrating. We've got some we'll show you in just a few minutes. It is absolutely great. Friends, it's got to spread. How about, would you like to have a tyranny response team in your neighborhood? You can. You sure can. It starts with being a free American committed to the Bill of Rights of our Constitution. That's how you can do it. If you want to help us stay on the air, you can by sending whatever you can to the Shooting Show, 327 Irvin Rowland Road in Dubberly, Louisiana. The zip code is 71024. I'll tell you what, friends, you can still buy our kits, of course, for our 460 cartridge, for the handguns, and yes, the good people at MECTEC have started shipping 460 Rowland MECTEC conversion units, the CCUs, carbine conversion unit. Let me tell you what, I would not put it off. I'd get one as quickly as I could. If whatever kind of gun, look, don't let what the Smith & Wesson upper management and Tompkins, the company that owns them, deter you from buying a Smith & Wesson handgun. We've got until the first of the year that we'll be able to buy Smith & Wessons without having to sign on to some government program. Listen, they're great guns. They'll last many, many years. If you want a Smith & Wesson, now's the time to get one. They're still good guns. Listen, the people at the factory, the people who make Smith & Wessons had nothing to do with this agreement. They had a guy who was a furniture maker that now runs Smith & Wesson, and Tompkins, an English outfit, a British company, probably feeling heat from Bill Clinton and Tony old Blair over there in their prime minister. So don't be afraid to buy a Smith & Wesson. They've still got good people manufacturing them. We'll be able to get Smiths till the end of this year. So don't let that deter you. They're still good guns. If I had to take out a loan to buy a few extra guns, I'd do it, friends, because nobody knows what's going to happen. I'd buy ammunition. You need a minimum of 1,000 rounds if you can afford it. For every gun you own, at least a minimum of 1,000 rounds. It's not that much. It goes quickly. So by all means, if you can buy, because nobody knows what Clinton's going to pull between now and when he's out of office. And if we get Al Gore, I'm so afraid that there's going to be a third party that's going to split the conservative vote. I'm so afraid Al Gore's got a better than even chance of going in, and it's going to be the same old thing. It's going to be licensing, registration. There's only one reason to register firearms, and that's so you know where they are when you go to pick them up. That's the only reason to register firearms. So I'd go to every gun show that I could. I would buy every gun that I certainly had need for, because nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what the restrictions are going to be. So you heard it here. This is not a joke. Let me show you something. You know, our 460 cartridge is really catching on. And let me show you something. We had a gentleman there in Colorado had used one of our 460 pistol kits. Let me show you something. Now, what we're looking at here is a large cougar, 180-pound cougar. Here's his head down here, treed. We have someone that works for the game department, wildlife and fisheries department, that had to take a cougar. I don't know if it was a sheep killer or a cow killer or what, but this is the cougar in the tree, and here he is on the ground with our hunter. This is a 180-pound package of spring steel teeth and claws. 180-pound cougar taken with one shot from our 460 Rowland pistol, shot into the chest area there. One shot, cat fell out of the tree. And see, these dogs are very expensive, and they want to protect these trailing dogs. So we're real proud of this. 180-pound cougar, one shot with our 460, using the 185 grain Georgia factory, Georgia Arms factory load. 1,550 feet per second out of our 1911. To give you an idea, this is a size large hand here, and the size of that paw. So we really appreciate the pictures from our friends there in Colorado that sent us this, and the 460 is doing what it was designed to do. You know, friends, we get a lot of useful information from our viewers, and certainly from our good friends. Well, Dennis Crocker, firearms trainer there in South Carolina, mentioned to me about a demonstration he did the other day. He took a 38 special and he had some water bottles, and a lot of people have 38 specials for home defense, for personal defense, and he did a demonstration, and I'm going to see if I can recreate that pretty much. Watch the bottle on your right. .38 special, 158 grain. We got a leak in it there. You know, the water's leaking out, but watch this. There we go. What we've done is we applied a tourniquet. Okay. We managed to save the water bottle. So, actually, now you see, this is a case where if we had to use that .38 special or that 9mm or something in self-defense, you see the bad guy, heck, with a simple matter of a tourniquet, he's back in action. Now then, let's shoot the same target with one on the left with our 460. Where you gonna put the tourniquet?
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Now friends, here's one of the most important publications you can get. This is a great Georgia Arms catalog, and please write their phone number down, 1-800-624-6861. This is a tremendous catalog with the best ammunition prices available in the United States. Okay, well, here's a mention of the Shooting Show. Hey, that's reason enough to support them right there, but you get superior ammunition at superior prices. Let's look over here. Whoops, let's see, what do we see? 460 Rowland, yes indeed, but we also see a tremendous number of other things. 45 ACPs, 44 Magnums, 41 Magnums, certainly our defense load there, defense special 41 Magnum load available, but all kinds of others. 9mm, 357 SIGs, 44 specials, 30-06s, 7 mags, all kinds of neat stuff. Plus they have components. If you want to load your own, they'll sell you lead bullets, they'll sell you nostril bullets, all kinds of great features. Yes, in fact, they'll even sell you a 460 Rowland kit for the great 1911 guns. Cleaning accessories. Here's gunpowder for sale. Loading equipment for sale. Friends, give them a call today. These are some of the finest people, period, that I've ever had a chance to meet. Curtis Shipley and our good friend Larry Haney from Georgia Arms, and they're helping to support the Shooting Show. Give them a call today. Get a free catalog, 1-800-624-6861. And please don't forget to tell them you saw it here on our show.
Now, friends, we have some tape footage of a demonstration here in Colorado to remind Governor Owens, and you'll see the SWAT team up on the roof over the flag there. They're reminding the governor that he should not have turned his back on gun owners. And that's a heck of a note, isn't it, when they call out a SWAT team to watch over a peaceful demonstration.
You know, they give away buckets and
Friends, we'll remind you there was no local media from any TV station, but we had someone covertly taking pictures of the crowd over here. Wonder who that might be. Interesting, huh?
Disarm. We will not disarm. We will not disarm. We will not disarm. We will not disarm.
There you go.
Taking it to the streets there, Johnny Rowland. Taking it to the streets.
Now, folks, we've got 450 plus people demonstrating for our gun rights. We really appreciate their efforts, and this has got to start all over this country if we have any hope at retaining our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, or certainly our firearms. Our hats off to these great demonstrators there in Colorado, the Tyranny Response Team.
Just like the 1700s.
That's me. I'm Patrick Henry, or Patrick Shamlin.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
No, friends, our little MECTEC carbine and our 460 chamber. Remember, you can shoot 45 ACPs in it as well as our 460. It works well slow. It works faster. And then it works real fast. The people at MECTEC, area 406-882-4255. Now, friends, a .22 rifle is some of the greatest fun you can have outdoors. You know, the recent thing in the Smith & Wesson settlement is manufacturers are not to build guns that appeal to criminals or to young people. That's insane, because that's what we start new shooters off shooting is a .22. First gun I ever shot was a .22 single-shot rifle. A lot of people don't realize just how we got where we are today with our cartridge ammunition. Let's take a look at a couple of things. Now, friends, this is a percussion cap, and this all really began to come common back in the 1820s. And what it was, someone figured out, said, wait a minute, these flintlocks have been working pretty well, but in damp weather or something, why not put a percussion cap, since fulminate had been invented, and fulminate was a material that when it was impacted, it would spark, it would flame up. So they came up with the idea of taking a little brass cap like this and putting some of the fulminate in the bottom like so, putting it on a nipple on a black powder gun, hit this with a hammer, This causes fire to go down through the passageway there and to ignite the black powder. This was a much better, much simpler system, a lot easier system than the old flintlock. Well, along about that time, somebody named Flaubert over in Europe came up with an idea. Said, wait a minute, why don't we just put a little round ball, like this little lead ball here, if we put it in the cap there and squeezed it down there and made it kind of self-contained, then we'd have a self-contained cartridge. You'd have a clean brass case here that would launch the little ball. Would be good for indoor practice, something like that. Be very little smoke or anything like that. So this is essentially how the first cartridge began. Well, along comes Smith & Wesson and someone named Rowlands White back in the 1840s and 50s, and Rowlands White had the idea of a bored-through cylinder on the revolver. Well, they took it one step further on the little cartridge. The bored-through cylinder could use the cartridge. The idea came about, said, wait a minute, let's take this cap and this projectile and let's make the cap a little longer. We'll put a little black powder in with that fulminate, and suddenly now we've got the .22 caliber. This is a short. This is essentially the first practical cartridge that ever existed. It is a rimfire. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. But this is how cartridge ammunition essentially began. Now, friends, here's our short here. These are what you'll commonly come across. Here's the .22 short, and we don't have a .20 long because they're not very often encountered, but they were certainly a development along the way for a little more powder, a little heavier bullet. Next, we have a target grade, a standard velocity .22 long rifle. Then we have the .22 long rifle. This is the one we see most often. The next is a .22 Stinger, and it has the bullet from the little short here with the powder charge of the long rifle, and it's called a hyper velocity round. That's this one right here. And of course, then later on we had the .22 rimfire Magnum, actually preceded by the Winchester .22 rimfire, but this is what we'll find today, and these are really potent cartridges. They've got somewhere between 30 and 50 grain bullets, and of course something we also see occasionally are little shot cartridges, which are useful for small pests or reptiles at very close range, but certainly in the .22 Magnum they're more useful than in the little .22 because you don't have that much shot. This is what we normally run to. All these are rimfires, and of course the .22 Magnum runs at a much higher pressure. It has a bigger cartridge body, as you can tell there, and this is, in my way of thinking, about the practical limit for a reliable rimfire. And we have our .22 Magnum here on the left and one of our 460s on the right, and this is what's called a center fire cartridge with the primer in the center. Now on the rimfire, you'll notice there is no extra part for the primer. It's all contained, and what we have here is in the rim we have the priming mixture that is literally spun into the cartridge rim. Well, that wasn't as successful because sometimes on the early, there used to be large caliber cartridges that were rimfire, and of course one thing, you couldn't reload the cartridges because you didn't have any way of getting priming a mixture back in it. But what we have here is you have difficulty sometimes in getting priming compounds spaced evenly around the rim. That's why rimfires are much more likely to misfire, because you may hit a point with the hammer, because instead of hitting the center of the cartridge, the hammer will hit out here on the rim, and if there's not enough priming compound, if the crushing factor of the hammer can't set the priming compound off, well, of course, the cartridge won't go off.
Stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after these important messages.
Those who want civilian disarmament, the true objective of gun control, tell us how dangerous it is to keep a gun in our house. We are told that locking up our safety is necessary to protect the children. Well, let's put this emotional argument into perspective. Of the 1,400 accidental firearm deaths in 1995, 200 were children under 15. When you hear figures higher than 200, remember that the gangbanger age group is included, sometimes up to 22, or even 24 years old being considered a child. Also consider that 2,900 kids that same year were killed in motor vehicle crashes, 950 drowned, and more than 1,000 children died from fire and burns. Hundreds more children die in bicycle accidents every year than die from all types of firearms. Well, the anti-self-defense crowd argues cars and water have social benefits, whereas guns only are made to kill. Really? What about the 2.5 million people who use a gun each year in self-defense? That is not a social utility? The Wall Street Journal reported last year that Beretta tested a safety lock which caused 18 of 27 rounds to totally malfunction. And when Handgun Control's chief attorney Dennis Hennigan attempted to demonstrate the same trigger lock at an HCI-sponsored event, he found to his embarrassment that he was unable to disengage the lock. Now, when we might want to laugh at the egg on Mr. Hennigan's face, but it would have been no laughing matter if the trigger lock kept a homeowner from using his gun against an assailant.
For more information on Gun Owners of America, give them a call at 888-886-GUNS or 888-886-4867. They are the only no-compromise Washington-based gun owners organization in this country. They're helping to support our program, and please, when you call them, thank them for that. Friends, a broadcast copy of our shooting shows are archived at Jim's House of Videos, area 318-869-0439, or on the web at www.jimshousevideos.com. And now for our support group. We have Custom Leatherwork and Saddlery in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Their number is area 225-667-9225. We have Brooks Communication in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Their number is area 505-888-2929. We have Dennis Crocker, firearms trainer there in South Carolina. Dennis's number is area 864-587-8722. We have Camouflage Technologies in California. Their number is area 909-674-6488. These are the folks that paint gun stocks. We also have Gearlings Equipment Rentals in Southern California for heavy equipment rental. Their number is area 909-354-6476. Friends, we're out of time on today's program. We appreciate you being with us. This is The Shooting Show, the #1 gun TV show in the world. Please help us stay on the air if you possibly can. We'll see you on the next program.